God is sovereign over everything. He is sovereign over the entire universe. He is sovereign over nature. He literally has created everything that exists out of nothing.
It is the doctrine of sovereign election that empowers and ignites missions, and it is the doctrine of sovereign election that guarantees the success of missions around the world.
We will not build the church according to the changing whims of an ungodly culture. We will change that ungodly culture by the power of the immutable gospel.
All I have is God wrapped himself in flesh, died on a cross, nailed my sin thereto, was placed in the grave, rose again on the third day, ascended to the right hand of the Father, and is there making intercession for me until such time as my salvation is completed and he takes me home.
The more they see, the more they will love him. Stop giving them all this silly fodder and life principles and lay before them. Live your life in solitude, crying out to God. Live your life on your knees. Live your life with your Bibles torn asunder. Live your life for the people of God to be able to present to them the beauty of what he is, the glory of his cross.
There is no such thing as Mother Nature. God rules and reigns over everything. There's not a leaf that falls from a tree that God did not call it to fall at that very moment. God is in control of every single thing, meticulously ruling over the entire universe. Join us for the 2023 G3 National Conference on the Sovereignty of God.
So on the show today, this show will be about the misdirected, misguided, and willful delusion of today's modern women. The kind of women who, in their minds, they are so powerful, so driven, and so successful that they couldn't figure out how to meet a nice guy, marry him, and start a family, but instead are choosing to be a single mom on purpose. Without the help, the love, the care, the leadership, and the guidance of a man for both her and the child. Now, I know you don't believe this, but there's a growing segment of the American female population that is choosing to be single mothers on purpose.
Motherhood by choice is going to be an option that more and more Black women consider and even exercise.
Women, particularly Black women, are settling into this trend as a way to experience the joys of motherhood, but without the man. According to a Pew Research Center survey conducted in 2001, some 47% of U.S. adults say that single women raising children on their own is generally a bad thing for society. This is an increase of 7 percentage points from the 40% who said the same in 2018. A smaller share, 43%, says it doesn't make a difference, and just 10% of adults say it is good for society. Whether you lead with a biblical worldview or a secular one, it is difficult to argue against having two parents who are married and raising a family together. But according to more and more women, they would rather spend their 20s and 30s focused on their education and careers, and then, as they approach 40, resort to midnight cyberstalking available sperm at highly recommended cryobanks. A cryobank. What is a cryobank? Well, a cryobank offers both frozen donor eggs and donor sperm for clinical or home insemination purposes. The argument among some is that there are no suitable men to marry, so women are choosing to forego marriage and stable relationships in favor of sperm. But not just any sperm, though. The hot commodity in the sperm market right now is black sperm. Yes, you heard me right. The sperm of black men are a highly coveted product for the sole purpose of creating black babies for single black women. The fact that I'm even discussing this should be troubling, but to many it is not. It is becoming more and more the norm as more women focus on other things during their prime childbearing years. Now, I don't claim to be an expert on this topic. However, I do have a lot to say about it. I have my theories as to how I think we got to such a place in society today, and I am hoping that you are going to indulge me as I dig a little deeper into this phenomenon. Now, in today's segment, we're going to be discussing the incredible rate of women purposely choosing to be single mothers, but on purpose. And this phenomenon, it utterly blew me away. And then I became sad, right? Because unfortunately, I would love to say that this is an ethnically blind issue, but it is not. I am going to share with you guys some statistics that will help lay the groundwork for what I want to talk about today. But before I do, I want to let you guys know that today's show is going to come with a black box warning. Okay, I'm just putting it out there now so that those who might be triggered can prepare themselves and perhaps not watch. I know the goal on YouTube is to get people to watch. However, for some people, for certain aspects of my audience, this show might be triggering for you because the information, the commentary, the critique, and the criticism that I intend to discuss today, it may be triggering. And I get that. I understand that. My goal is not to hurt anyone's feelings. However, I cannot engage with this topic without touching base on some hard hitting realities. So first, let me just lay out what is the goal. The goal of this show is to make you think, perhaps to do some of your own introspection, to contemplate your past, and then, Lord willing, to make different choices in the future. Or perhaps this show is going to cause, you to speak the truth to some other young woman so that she doesn't travel down the path that we're going to be discussing today. For the record, I want it to be known that I love women. Okay, like my audience is primarily female. But having a love for you guys does not mean that I am willing to lie to you. I will not lie to you. I am known to break the queen code, like queen with the K, right? So therefore, I come speaking the truth in love, in hopes that it will keep some young women from being deceived by societal's lies, and then perhaps it will lead to wholeness and healing for the older women. I want to also be clear that this message, it may not be for everybody, and that is okay. If it's for you, just go on and receive it. But if it's not, go ahead and let it roll off your back like water off of a duck. So we're going to start out, and I'm going to share some statistics with you. 64% of millennial moms have a child outside of marriage, according to Johns Hopkins researchers. There were also 15.6 million single mother-headed households in the United States in 2019. That is a 3 times the number that it was in 1960. You also have 25% of U.S. families are headed by a single parent, and then 80% of single parent headed households are headed by the mother. 21% of U.S. children live primarily with a single mother, and this is according to census data. Something else that was slightly startling, but there are studies that estimate that by the time children turn 9 years old, 20% of U.S. children born to a married couple, and more than 50% of those children born to a cohabitating couple. Those kids are going to experience the breakup of their families. 40% of babies born in the United States were born to an unmarried mom in 2018, according to census data. And 57% of millennial parents, they had at least one child out of wedlock. So, throughout history, what we're discovering is that marriage and parenthood have been linked milestones on the journey to adulthood. However, for young adults of the millennial generation, these two social institutions, marriage and family, are now becoming delinked, and they are starting to be valued very differently. And so I wanted to bring that information out, in addition to a 2022 Forbes article asserted that Gen Z women are delaying motherhood in favor of work and a desire to have a flexible life that is just protected time just for themselves. And they are believing that this could be the case with Gen Zers because they're more likely to be raised by a single parent. This is according to the Survey Center on American Life. So there is a breakdown of children born to single families by ethnicity, with 52% of our Indian American homes are born to single moms. 15% of our Asian and Pacific Islanders are born to single moms. In the Black community, we're at 64%, Hispanics at 42%, and then whites at 24%. The rise and general acceptance of single motherhood across all demographics has been made very apparent in recent times. And so all of these numbers, they may have your head swirling and spinning, but the fact of the matter is that it was a few years ago that headlines announced that the married heterosexual parent household with children, that is now the statistical minority in this country. These are startling statistics, right? The fact that the Leave It to Beaver families, where the father works and mom is home with the children, those statistics are down 47%. And so we're just not, the world is changing. And as a result, people's worldviews are changing. And now that I've shared those startling numbers with you, I want to revisit an individual whom I've done some content on in the past. Ebony K. Williams, who is the Grio host, she is the one who recently offended a boatload of working class Black men by making some unsettling statements about her not wanting, to date a bus driver, but, she'd be willing to date him if he owned the bus. This is the young lady who recently just gave us a peek into the world of what it is like to choose to be a single mom on purpose. So I'm going to go ahead and play a clip of her monologue, and then I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to engage with her statements.
Black women are availing ourselves to all of the options that our hard work and circumstances currently afford us. And that means that single motherhood by choice is going to be an option that more and more Black women consider and even exercise. So anybody that's in their feelings about that can go ahead and start to process right now. Because Black women that have the privilege to embark upon this expensive and oftentimes lengthy process will increasingly decide to forego marriages and partnerships that do not serve us and that are not in our best interests. And now that bypassing those insufficient relationships does not have to come at the expense of motherhood, well, frankly, it's a whole new world. A world in which Black women are no longer subject to the desperation of being chose, because now we get to do the choosing. And as we choose, we do have to contend with the reality of a dismally small supply of black sperm. Because most black women on this journey, we want to create children that look like us and that look like our families, and that means we want black sperm. And as we heard from Reese Brooks, it's the definition of slim pickings, and sometimes that means compromising on this aspect of your journey. Now, I am extremely fortunate that I was able to secure 2 vials of black sperm from California Cryobank when I embarked on this part of my journey last fall. But I do know that I am an outlier. So I've got 2 concrete tips for single black women who think this may be an option, either now or maybe later. Number 1, please check out Reproductive Village. It's a new black-owned cryobank, and it's designed to help with this shortage of black sperm. It's set to open its doors in D.C. later this year, and it will also have drop-off locations in Atlanta and Houston, Texas. And number 2, be proactive. I say go ahead and start looking right now for desirable black sperm. You register with all 4 of the big cryobanks, and this includes California Cryobank, which I used, Seattle Sperm Bank, Fairfax Cryobank, and Zytex. Then you can scan the current options for black sperm. And if you see some sperm that you like, I suggest go ahead and buying at least 2 vials right now. Even if you do not intend to use them anytime soon, trust me, it's better to have them than to be without them when the time comes. And listen, if you never need them for whatever reason, what a wonderful gift to give to a friend or a sorority sister in need. And also, most of those banks, they allow you to resell the sperm back to the bank itself. Listen, I know that many are going to question or even indict the decision that I and many other black women are making to become single mothers by choice. But I, like the women you heard from today, go by the creed of no regrets. I have, and many black women have, too much love, too many resources, and too rich of a community not to share these gifts with children of our own. Children that will one day, no doubt, enrich and contribute to the next generation of Black America.
So in this monologue, Ebony speaks of insufficient relationships that do not serve women well. Well, for one, the term insufficient relationship is really a loaded and subjective term. And y'all know that I love definitions. And so I would need a little bit more information from Ebony to truly know what she means when she says that, as to not misrepresent her. However, I will say that typically when I hear women talk about, insufficient relationships, not necessarily in those terms, but rather they'll say, I can't find a man, on my level. It normally refers to a few things. Typically, when women say stuff like this, what they're really saying is that they have been unable to find a man to marry them that satisfies their list of requirements that are typically driven by money and other material possessions that don't have any long-term value or that represent anything that would be representative of a strong, solid family and a healthy relationship, right? So typically these women, they're incredibly ambitious, completely sold out to advancing their careers, and they don't dedicate a lot of time to availing themselves to be pursued by anyone. They are also, these women, many times, what they are saying is that at this point in their lives, they've pretty much wasted a lot of time and were not good stewards of their 20s and 30s. And they, during that time, were particularly focused on other things that now that they're ready, they're unable to attract a man that is willing to extend his hand in marriage to them. So here's where our culture is utterly backwards and has deceived so many women. I would say that feminism told women that they could pursue everything else with vigor and passion except marriage and motherhood. I am arguing that feminism is what trained women to ignore biological reality and to buy into the idea that after 40, becoming a mom for the first time was not only doable, but better and more desirable because you need to live your life. For what else is it that you need to be doing? Your life is for you. In fact, it's always about you. It's about your wants, your needs, your desires, and the thought of sacrificing your time, your energy, and Lord forbid your body for your own children is just unthinkable for many of the women who think this way. And so they forget about geriatric pregnancy and how that's an actual thing, and that we women are born with all of the eggs that we will ever have. They forget that there is a such thing called childbearing years. And the reason why feminism is so deceptive is because it convinced women that chasing money, chasing status, and chasing corporate accomplishments would give them a internal fulfillment, some sort of internal purpose and meaning. But feminism, point blank, feminism deceived women more than anything. Because as you can see here in this clip, the clip that I played, feminism has deceived Ebony K. Williams. She actually believes that she is in control and that she's doing the choosing. But I would argue that this is not choosing. This is what desperation looks like. This is a race against the clock that slows down for no one. She is trying to paint this picture that she has the upper hand and that she is calling the shots and having things go her way. Now, Ebony in this clip has made it very clear that she and women like her want black sperm. And so now this is where we are. We are at a point where our women are actually freezing their eggs and fighting for sperm, but specifically, they're fighting for black sperm. And I cannot believe that I'm actually saying that. That statement should make us all feel some sort of kind of way. But she has completely divorced herself from the possibility that it could be something internally wrong with her that has led her to the point of needing to seek out black sperm, not a black man, but black sperm. She doesn't even care about how insulting some of her statements sound, because women like this, they believe that the world revolves around them, right? So they're the center of it all. And I believe that this could be part of the reason why she has found herself as beautiful as she is at this crossroad at the age of 40 years old. Ladies, God did not intend for us women to spend our 20s pursuing success and everything else, only to find ourselves after 40 trying to buy vials of sperm on the cryo market. And I don't mean to be hurtful, ladies, but this is not progress. This is not progress. This is not the wave of the future. This is a complete decimation of the natural order of human flourishing, and it will not end well. This woman is here trying to glamorize her choices and to convince you that this is the way that you need to go. Instead of her saying, I need to examine what the heck I was doing during those prime years of 20 and 30 years old, when everyone else, my peers and my colleagues and my other counterparts, they were finding time to get married, to garner the attention of a man who saw them as a suitable helpmate, accept his proposal for marriage, and then in the natural course of that relationship, have children. No, but many of these women will not admit that they did not prioritize those things. They thought they had all of the time in the world because they were chasing after something else. They wanted the notoriety. They wanted the career aspiration. They wanted the corner office, right? They wanted the executive position. They wanted the brass nameplate on the desk. They wanted those things, the media coverage, the media attention. They did not have time to cooperate, garner the attention of a suitable man, and marry him because their mindset and their desires were focused on other things and not this thing, right? So before I get into all of the problems associated with this worldview and this mindset, I need to just deal with a few things that Mrs. Williams said. She reminds us that there is a short supply of black sperm. She goes on to explain that, black women want children who look like them or their families. So this is one reason why they prefer black sperm. But my main issue with these statements is, why have we reduced our men to just their sperm? Right? Why is it just, I want black sperm because I want all of the characteristics and the things that are inherent or endemic to black sperm, but I don't want the black men. The men are only good for just their sperm, but they're not good for you to accept them as a whole. That was concerning to me. She also said that she was quite clear when she was asked, would you date a bus driver? And to her, unless you own the bus, she can't dare be bothered with the likes of you. So certain men are good enough for you to buy their sperm, but not good enough for you to meet them, develop a meaningful relationship with them, add value to their life, get married, and then have his baby? Like, how is it that there is such a divide between our men and women, where our women are only focused on what are the resources that you offer, right? So that I can live this fantasy or this alternate life that I didn't even see lived out before me in prior generations, right? Or why is it that our women are like, can you buy me $1 million house? Can I drive the 745 Benz? Forget that. Can you buy a Lucid? I really want a Lucid. Y'all, I'm talking like I know what these cars are. I just learned what a Lucid was like a couple of months ago. It's like $100,000 electric vehicle. I had no idea what the heck a Lucid was, but they want that. They're like, are you able to, send me to Dubai on a girls trip on a whim? Right? Are you able to take me out to the Capitol Grill, 4 times a week? Like, are you able to do these things? Now, mind you, these are not things that everyday average Americans are doing. These are things that these types of women see on social media. They see women in Hollywood who are living this way, who parade this lifestyle on social media. And then they begin to covet that. And they think that that is what it means to live your best life. They don't know about all of the behind the scenes, the real life interaction of what it's like to actually have a man who loves you like Christ loved the church and gives himself up for you. The type of man that wakes up extra early in the morning during the winter months to make sure your car is started and that there's no ice on your window, and that you can open the door safely, and that your tires are fully inflated to the proper capacity so that you have a safe drive to work. Or the man that says, no, you take my car. I know the car that you bought was the car that you could afford at the time, or my car is more newer and in better condition. You drive my car. I will drive your hoopty. They're not looking for that kind of man, the one that provides the right kind of provisions, right? Your food, your shelter, and your clothing in reason. No, they want this other kind of man. So here are a few questions that I actually have. What were you doing in your 20s that prevented you from linking up with a man, have that man extend his hand in marriage to you, and then you get married and raise a family? Now, I can guess what a lot of people were doing, right? I am sure perhaps women like Ebony were heavy in their pursuit to join a sorority, which means they were getting community service under their belt. They were spending time carefully curating and crafting a resume that looked stellar on paper, right? You knew how to look good on paper, land the dream job, answer that top interview with impeccable answers that everyone is going to say, yep, those were amazing answers, right? They know how to prepare and structure their lives in that way. But why were you unable to position yourself for a high caliber man? If this is the kind of man that you demand and you must have, because, just a regular old bus driver, he ain't good enough for you. Why is it that the same energy that you put into pursuing this career and crafting the resume and the media kit to make you look like America's perfect woman, why is it that you were unable to position yourself for the high caliber man that you claim you deserve? Hear me clearly. When I say high caliber, I'm actually not really referring to some high-powered attorney or an oil tycoon. I know plenty of high-caliber men that work jobs that are meaningful to them, and they provide and contribute in amazing ways to this U.S. economy, to the local community, and to their family. They solve problems, like everyday problems. They troubleshoot things that don't work. They strategize. They build, they tear things down, they tear stuff up. Like, they do all kinds of things. But some of them fix airplanes. Some of them haul hazardous materials. Many of them, they're the glue that holds this country together. And I have met tons of amazing men, and a number of them would be considered suitable husbands and fathers, pillars within our community. But the question is, by what standard? I can guarantee you that if I introduced Ebony to a few of the men that I'm referring to, the ones that are in the recesses of my mind, she'd turn her high-duty nose up to them as if they're the problem. She doesn't deserve them. Based on the caliber and the type of the character and the personality that she exudes, she doesn't deserve those men. And I'm arguing that could it be that she is and was the problem? Now, in all fairness, I can see both sides of this issue because when I was in high school, right, I had met an amazing guy, right? He had his head on straight. I could have easily married him after high school and we would have had a great life, right? Because he was just a good guy, a solid dude. He truly cared about me. He would have given up his right arm to make me happy. But you know what? I was the problem. Back then, I had my mind set on Morehouse College. Yes, you heard that right. I was enrolled at Spelman, right? A woman's college, but I had my mind set on Morehouse, right? So, meaning I was just over there. I was just over at the house, okay? One focus on my studies like I should have. Now, at least that came like maybe second semester, but first semester I was over there, right? Right? Now, I can only imagine what they doing over there now, right? But, honey, back then, the cream of the crop was at dear old Morehouse. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all don't hear me, okay? But, you see, I couldn't be tied down my freshman year with my high school sweetheart because that wouldn't have worked because I had stuff going on. I was over at the house. And I didn't have anyone to reel me in and say, hey, that's a good dude. Like, you got lucky right out of high school. You got you a good dude right there. You better act right, right? You better act right before you get left. No one told me that. And I was too busy. Reading Cosmo and Teen Magazine and, just living my best life, not focused on the things that would have ultimately mattered. And while in college, I actually met several amazing guys. But once again, my mind was somewhere else. It wasn't until I was 25 years old and had been drugged through the relationship ringer, right, by the wrong guy, that I finally woke up and I realized that I needed to settle down and I needed to be in a drama-free, healthy relationship. And I had had my fair share of drama by this point. And I was just done. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm over it. And then I met Mr. Chapman. Mr. Chapman, who was 11 years my senior. And by God's grace, by that point, I had a little bit of act right in me. And I had enough act right in me to know that he was a good man. And that, yes, I knew he was a good man. And yes, we did get caught out there. Meaning I got pregnant before I said I do. But I refused. I refused to be a baby mama. Because for one, my mama and my family did not play that. Like, my dad's side of the family didn't play that. My mama's side of the family. Like, you just weren't about to just be popping out babies with no husband. Right? So I already knew that being a single mom was whack. And I knew this because I experienced it. I come from a single parent home. And so I just knew that if I had just did my part by contributing to the relationship in a healthy way to get rid of all of that unhealthy baggage that I was dragging along with me, whatever childhood traumas, daddy issues, prior relationships where he didn't do me right. Like, I knew that if I had brought all of that along, right, that it would cause problems with this new amazing man who was, he was so fine. Yes, I knew that I could not move forward and be a contributor to a healthy relationship if I brought all of that with me. And so I knew that if I came to the table, right, and just put it all out there and came to the relationship just being upright, that the person that I was with, that he would reciprocate the same. But it was going to cost me. It was going to cost me something. I had to give up some things. Yes, I had to give up my need to have everything go my way. I had to learn that the world didn't revolve around me. I had to learn that being a petulant brat did not yield me favorable results. And I had to learn how to serve. Yes, serve a man. Submit to a man. Submit to the vision of a man. I distinctly remember Robert actually telling me, he was like, it doesn't make you less of a woman to actually serve a man. And then he was quiet. Like, he said it wasn't in a whiny, like, you really deserve me and it doesn't make you, less of a person. He was just like, it don't make you less of a woman to serve a man. You should, like, he would just say it. And I'm learning and I'm picking up and I'm looking to him for like, okay, so this is him giving me the cheat code of what it means to be in a relationship with him. And if I do this, that I'm going to yield beneficial results on the other end. And so I had to learn these things very quickly. And I had to learn while on the job, because I didn't come into the marriage with those tools. And that is just the truth for so many of us. We didn't come preloaded with the tools to do this right. But we need to learn these things. Like, I had to learn quiet strength. I had to learn how to be peace and not the storm. I had to learn how to demonstrate and show respect. So when Ebony calls this plan of hers, taking agency over her single status, nah, that's not what this is. Nope. That's not what this is called. This is called desperation and selfishness. Why do I say that? Because we already know that single motherhood does not promote positive outcomes in mass. And yes, I'm a byproduct of an amazing single mother. But even she will tell you that there are inherent deficiencies that could not be overcome. And that if she could do it all over again, she would not wish divorce or a broken home for her children. So if we know the truth about single motherhood outcomes, why would anyone purposely sign up to be a single mom? I believe it's just the height of selfishness and desperation and the desire to not care about the future needs, the current needs, the immediate needs of this child, but that it's all about, I want the baby because I want someone to love. And I've got a lot of love to give. Now, I don't know how to give that love to a man because that requires too much self-sacrifice on my part. So I would rather bring a child into this world on purpose as a single mom because I am desperate and I am selfish. I actually heard in another clip where she said that, once the child's 18, I'll introduce him or her to the father, right? Like she speaks of the child like it's a puppy instead of a human. Do you have any idea of how much that child is going to resent you for purposely choosing to bring him or her into the world without the benefit of having a father? She doesn't even really have a concept of what a man is. So it's easy for her to deny her child that. I mean, my daddy wasn't perfect. Okay, we just put it out there. It wasn't perfect. He wasn't perfect, but he was still my dad. And I am so glad that I had the privilege to know him. He had his issues, but that was my father. And no child should be denied that. She talks about, having too much love. Like, I got too much love and too many resources and too much of a community, right? Like, she made it clear that she is willing to give all of those things to a child, but she doesn't love that child enough to humble herself and give all of those things to a man first. That is the type of woman that you need to avoid at all costs because she will not sacrifice. She will not put her needs to the side for the betterment of the family. She is already telling you, I am selfish, I am desperate, and the only thing that matters is what I want and what I need. And what I need is some black sperm so I can have a black baby. And in her mind, she thinks that somehow this black baby is going to grow up and be able to contribute in a meaningful way to a society, right, that is on a trajectory downward. She's actually contributing to that trajectory by way of actually saying, yes, I'm going to bring a child into this world without no daddy. And it's going to have its fatherlessness and it's going to have daddy issues. And I don't care because I'm so fabulous and so great of a person that I can teach that child to overcome that despite the odds. You are way too arrogant and not as smart as I thought you were. But what do you guys think? I'm going to do a follow-up video to this, giving some more insight to this pathology a little later. But I just wanted to take this time to revisit this topic and to find out from you guys, do you think what she's doing is this just the wave of the future? Like me and my old self, I just need to step aside because this is the way it's going to be done now. And children are going to be brought into the world on purpose with no daddies. And it's going to be fine. Like everything's just going to work out just fine, right? Is that your opinion? Or do you see the long-term implications of such a disastrous decision? And can you predict what the world is going to look like if her idea, these new reimagined families, if the vast majority of women who fit her description and characteristics, if they start to do this, can you see what the world is going to be like and the children that are going to result from these types of women? I want you guys to let me know what you think in the comment section. Until next time, grace and peace.